Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GothamChess Slow Run. This is episode number 41. We have played 145 games. We have won 145 games. I would hope, because otherwise that would make for quite an embarrassing slow run. I am approaching 1700 rapid on chess.com. The games are getting more intense. I'm having to lock in a little bit more. I've been in danger of a bad position maybe 2 or 3 times. But now I'm going to teach you how to become an advanced player. For the last 15 episodes, I've told you about how to win at chess next level. I wrote this book. It comes out October 2026, all right? And over 10,000 of you at this point have pre-ordered this thing and gotten yourself a signed copy. But this thing's only designed to get you to around 1700. So what do you have to do to become a master level chess player? That's not really in this book. That's what I'm writing master level for. And I've started to get into some of those things. 1700 plus rated players have good openings, good enough middle games, good enough tactics, good enough everything. But they transform positions poorly, and they are not that strong at prophylactic play, and they are not that strong at statics and dynamics, and that is everything that I'm going to be teaching you over the next 500 rating points. Obviously, beyond that point, look, if you're 2,000, you already have a pretty decent chance of beating me, which is kind of an insane thing to say. We're going to kick things off. I'm 1600, and I'm going to play d4. Why are legal moves on? I feel like that is not a... Have they always been on? Anyway, I'm going to play a London. Have they always been on? Am I losing my mind? Can I? I don't need the legal moves. Has that always been a thing? Anyway, we are... I think I'm losing my mind. This is a London, okay? Now, against knight f6 immediately, I like to play the Trembowski, but I'm going to show you how to play a very smart London system, okay? Here we have the bishop coming to the d6 square. This is a very good variation for black. It's a very, it's a very strong one. I'm going to drop my bishop back to the g3 square. Maybe I did have them on. I'm losing my mind. You guys are going to have to tell me. Anyway, this is a good line. This is not a good move. The reason this is not a good move is I already open up my rook, and yeah, this was already a poor transformation. So the opponent poorly transforms the position from the opening. Already I can maybe just replace my pawn and make a full-on stonewall structure. I kind of want to go for this, even though this is a little non-standard. Normally you don't have double g-pawns. And after bishop d3 and c3 and getting my knight to e5, I have a dominant positional advantage. I don't really know what black is doing, to be honest. Okay, is black going to try to castle queenside? I don't know, but I'm going to go bishop d3 next. I guess that's what they're going to do. They're going to long castle. So, okay, they've told me where they're putting the king, right? I mean, they didn't verbally tell me, but... And so now, I can do a few things here, but as I'm adapting to the position that's changing in front of me, I can already begin some sort of attack. Like, I can probably just play b4, b5, or a4, a5, a6, a4, b4, knight b3, b5, something like this. Wow, knight b8 is crazy. I mean, the speed at which my opponent is playing without a care in the world is honestly kind of impressive. I mean, a5 can't be bad. There's a king on the other side. And if a6 is played, we'll go b4. I mean, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go b4 here. And honestly, we have a pawn rush going at the opponent, but also we control all of their pawn play. A strong move here might be h5, trying to put the knight on g4. I don't know if that's a move at the pay grade of this level, but let's see if they're able to find that idea, h5, because this is, I mean, queen e8. Yeah, queen e8, I kind of understand. You're trying to play bishop b5. I kind of get that move. I'm not going to lie to you. Now I can stomp queen e2. So I can stop bishop b5 with queen e2, although it doesn't quite stop it. So let's keep trying to make progress. I don't love the move that I just played, I have to say. I think I allowed a little bit too much there. Now, we can maintain the tension here. I sort of expect black to take and replace that piece. We can maybe play c4 and try to trade. Now, c4 is both, it's a risky move for us, because it opens up black's rook and the knight, but it also opens up the c file for us, which could be useful. So let me maintain the tension here and see just how, how far down this rabbit hole black wants to go. Queen b5. I mean, it's a good move. We're going to have to maybe win this in an endgame. Now we could bring our king. Actually, we don't even have to take that. if we ever want to maintain the ability to attack in the future. We still have this option of c4, which would be losing a pawn, but potentially opening up the queen side. So c4 here, knight takes, maybe queen b4, then I would move my king. Oof, that is I mean, c4 is a big risk to take. But you guys kind of want me to be merciless in this series, so would I play c4 in one of my own games? Honestly, in one of my own games, I would probably go king e2. I think this is the move that I would play. Because now I actually get a king a little bit further into the game, which is nice for me. And we sort of switch our plan here from, powerhouse offense to, hey, maybe a little bit more of a long-term endgame grind where black doesn't have that many moves. Like, this is not a particularly great move. I mean, I can play knight e5, but after the trade, this knight would come to g4, so I don't love that. I kind of want to go rook h4 to stop knight g4, and also to double up my rooks, and also to play g4, g5. So I can play g4 now, or I can play knight e5, take, and then that, the knight has to go back. I can set that up with the move rook f1 also. So now knight e5. Wow, they play they play h5 now. But now I do get this move, and after this trade, knight g4, I would be okay. I mean, what am I missing here? This guy is playing at such a speed. I'm thinking I'm missing something, but maybe not. So a speed player at this level will make a mistake at some moment. You just kind of have to set it up from a distance, because now they're living with this position that they have to think about. But honestly, my opponent didn't play bad. They played fast. They played as well as they could given the time constraint. So now I win a pawn, and now there's bigger problems here for black because g7's hanging, right? Now, this is protected, so I'm thinking to bring my rook back around to maintain control of the file. I think this is a very important move for me here. They might think I'm just blundering this, but they're 1600, so probably not. And it's important in an endgame you maintain control of the file. It's a very important maneuver that I just did to keep my rook active, right? I'm keeping my rook active on the 7th rank. Then maybe we trade. Then maybe we dance in with the knight. We identify the weaknesses in the endgame. And then it would be really great if we could land a knight there, or there, or there, or there. They just hung a rook. Complete overthinking there. Just total oversight. And they resign. That was a game where I wanted to play a little bit more of an aggressive London, but my opponent didn't really allow it. I will say, though, I said in the beginning of the video that at this level, people transform positions incorrectly, and this is already just not a very good transformation because black needs to play in the London with the C and E pawns. You cannot have such a lack of space. And you will notice in this game that very quickly, we had a very nice space advantage. We controlled the play very well. We didn't really allow any of these pawn breaks. Now, the computer's way to play this position is not to play f4. And I did say that I was playing in a way that was sort of non-standard. f4 is a little too weakening in this particular position. But in a position where black doesn't do that, and let's say does something else, look, knight f3, let's say c5, c3 like this, here's a way you can set up a stonewall structure. And this stonewall structure in the London, or as I always like to play in the Trempowski, very tricky stuff. You get a bishop to d3, you get a queen to f3, and suddenly you have very nasty ideas brewing here, and your knight on e5 anchored in by these two pawns is extremely, extremely tough to play against. In this game, black castled queenside, but I mean, I knew right away knight b8 just cannot be a good move. Actually, black is equal here. But you have to go for play over here. You have to use these outside pawns to reclaim a little bit of space. g5 looks really stupid, but it's actually okay because my pawns are so bad. Having said that, though, I don't think anybody plays like this. I mean, and then e5. I think it's much more normal to go h5, and then we would have had a game because I would have went here, queen e2. Would have been a very interesting battle. But my opponent just played too passive. Still, to come up with queen e8 is really smart. And then right here, I said a good player, transforms the position well. And what's funny is as I played my move, and this is the problem with playing the slow run versus actually playing at full strength, I actually made a mistake. It's a very cool mistake that I made. I overthought the position myself. I should have taken, continued with natural play, attacking this pawn, and then here, or here, I should have just, advanced the position with g4. I have very good piece coordination. My pawn is going to take space. I'm going to double up my rooks onto the h-pawn very soon, and these rooks are very passive. Sometimes in the slow run, I don't play perfectly, and I notice it immediately. Sometimes in the slow run, I autopilot because I expect a certain move from the level of the opponent, and I got that move here. I got, this in 2 seconds. But king e2 is a blunder because of knight e4. And utilizing this pin, I can't actually take this because if I take the queen, I lose a knight with a check. There's a Zwischenzug. And if I take the queen, my opponent can take the pawn with check and then win my queen back, and I'm just a pawn down. Had that happened, I would have been very annoyed. So I do need to start treating this a little bit more like I'm playing my level. I just got to be locked in from start to finish instead of anticipating the level that I'm going to face and the response types that I'm going to face. Because honestly, Black played very well, but then they played the endgame poorly. This move, not very good. And then, I clearly played with an expansion plan, and then they just blundered not just the pawn, but like the whole game. Now, by the way, it's 2.5. I want this to really be ingrained in your brain, the understanding that we need to bring the rook from this very passive enclave to dominant control of the f-file, because if you go rook g7 and you get greedy hunting for pawns, it can backfire, all right? Your opponent might trade rooks with you, and then you're too late to do this, and there's knight f2 check. So then you play king e2, and there's rook f8, and now you have to find knight f3. If you go the other way, black is in there, and you're in a lot of trouble. And still, this position is no longer as good, because you can't play knight g5, so you have to go here now. Black is going to play some move, and then we're up a pawn, but because black has control here, you can't really do anything. Like, you play rook f1, and then, you're going to have to try to trade the knight at some point, and you can't even trade the knight, the rook, because takes. So, it's very important you bring this rook back, and you maintain control of a file, which is then how to win at chess next level. But really, practical endgames are very challenging things. But, okay, my opponent hung the rook, so what can I do, right? I mean, that's how it goes sometimes. All right. I'm going to play maybe a Trumpowski in this one. d4, c5. It's the second time we're facing this. So let's play d5. We also faced d4, c5 in the last episode. Wow. A potential Czech Benoni for the second time. That is very interesting. Okay. Now there's a few ways to do this. Let's just play e4. I might just allow my opponent to play the exact thing that they want. But maybe not. Maybe I don't allow it. Okay, they're already deep in thought, which is very peculiar. Anyway, in the Czech Benoni, black likes to play d6, followed by bishop e7, bishop g5. This is the idea. It's a very good opening. I have it on Chessly. Maybe this person even learned it from me. I have no idea. But against d4, you lock up the center. You trade off your bad bishop because you've obviously created it with all these dark squared pawns. And with white, you need to play with a lot of energy. You need to often just go for an attack on this side of the board because otherwise it just doesn't quite work out. Now, the way that my opponent played this, I don't know if they could have taken that. Anyway, I was going to just set this up like this. There is no bishop g5 here. And so I'm just going to go bishop e3, and maybe I'm going to queenside castle. So you see they're kind of setting up this idea. Now, me personally, when I see a person play like this, I really like to play this offbeat approach that just doesn't let people get what they want. I like to play g4 at some moment. It doesn't have to be immediately, but at some moment, And if they castle and I just go for this attack, people hate defending. They just don't enjoy it. Now, maybe black can already consider knight to h5 and bishop g5, but, seeing this plan, I'm going to go queen d2. So I've created this battery. You'll notice I'm not developing these pieces yet. I'm trying to negate the development of these pieces. a6 is a very normal move in such positions. White usually responds with a4 because you don't want to allow b5. These Benoni structures are honestly quite tricky. I'm not very comfortable playing against them, if I'm being 100% transparent. Now, this is the move. This is the money move, and this is the move that people really don't like to see. Because not only does it stop the play on this side of the... And immediately, I think, by the way, that's a mistake. It's at least an inaccuracy, because that pawn will now be a target for my future attack. But still, knight here, and this is all possible. It stops this idea, and it also stops pawn to f5. Now, I can play queen d2. I'm also looking at h4 straight away. h4, knight h7, and something like bishop back to f2. So let's go h4. Let's show our opponent we mean business. I'm showing you here how to attack a castled king when the center is deadlocked like this. There are some tactics here like knight takes pawn and then bishop takes check, but I mean, you just can't lose. You can't go down a knight and for a check. I mean, I'm just going to move my king, you know? So queen d2, queen h2, it's all part of the attacking idea. Of course, g5 is good, but you don't want to rush with g5 here because this is actually in How to Win at Chess Next Level. There's a section about knights dancing when a pawn attacks them. Right now, this knight is very well restricted. In fact, I can probably even show it to you while we wait. I'm going to show it to you while we wait. There is a diagram in this book for how pawns and knights interact. Oh, I found it. I found it. Look at this. So this is a diagram of how a pawn and knight, you know, here the pawns restrict the knight, and the second you attack it, it dances away. I mean, I'm showing you inside the book, you know. And this is a perfect example of how I would have, you know, waited with that move before actually going. Now, h5, g5, all these things are a little bit too much, but bishop back to f2, just maintaining my pawn here. And black is going to struggle on this side of the board, you know. They're going to maybe go g6 and try to play for f5, but f5 just doesn't make sense if you're going to weaken your king. And my next two moves are queen d2 and probably long castle. a6 must be played, in my opinion. Like, I think you have to just try to go for something. And then I'm going to play a4. And then we're going to see, because if my opponent goes for queen b6, attacking my pawn, all right, then we'll see. I'm going to also have to figure out where to develop my pieces. This is a very complicated position. Completely black is totally fine here. You know, definitely playing, you know, certainly playing for something. Knight a6 is a very normal move. In such positions, you want to get the knight to b4. Queen d2 is possible for me. Sometimes you can even take just to like unclog your position a little bit. Although I don't want to take. I think taking is a little bit too much. Knight e2 cannot be a bad move. Also queen d2. So I think I'm going to start with queen d2, showing that I want a long castle. Knight c7, b5 is still not a thing because I can just take it. But of course, okay. Now I'm confused. Now I don't understand what is happening anymore. If I castle, am I worried about the queen side? It's a very important question. Am I worried that there will be a strong attack here? Maybe we just keep waiting. Just keep improving. Like, I'm going to move my pieces around a little bit. Maybe I keep my king in the middle, because if black commits to an attack here and I'm not ready for it, I'm going to be in trouble. Now, okay, so there we go. I've already talked about this at length. I have to stop b5. Now, if I go knight g3, I lose this pawn. Maybe I can sack and then play knight f5. Maybe, but probably not. Now, I don't want to go g5. Maybe I bring... Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maneuver my knight. I think this is a game where I'm going to leave my king in the middle. I'm going to leave this king in the middle for now. My bishop is controlling black's play. It's very much a game of control. And I kind of want this knight maybe to maneuver to f5. How about that? Or another key square in the Benoni is the c4 square. I'm just struggling to put this knight on the c4 square. That's because it, you know, it already went there. So let's see how we're going to do that. So b5, f5, and, you know, all these pawn breaks for black are controlled. Ooh. That move looks terrible. It might not be, but it doesn't look very good. I think I have to take this. I am inviting in the bishop, but I'm just going to block. Ooh, knight takes. No, I think that's also wrong. But, you know, let's see. Bishop e2. I have to obviously defend the pawn on f3. And h6 is hanging. Maybe black goes king g7. And now there is, again, I'll show you after the game, but there's a section on reroutes. I'm not reading the book as I'm playing. I wrote the book. All right, so there is a whole section here. Okay, king g7 was played. It's a section on reroutes. I'm going to show you later. This knight, I think, can now reroute itself to the f5 square, where I think I have some nice chances. But actually, I got to say, I think my opponent's playing a very good game. They're playing a very nice game. Let's go knight to d1, backwards reroute to f5. So we are now going to remove a key player in the black position. I still don't like this knight. I'm not very happy with the knight on c1. What a fascinating game, by the way, right? Just like maneuvering game, 1700 level. So there's knight e3 coming. Or maybe I play something like a bishop move to stop knight f6. Bishop e3. But that's where I want my knight. Knight e3, knight f6, knight f5, bishop takes, pawn takes. No, I don't think there's anything on e4. Let's go knight e3, knight f5. I think knight e3, knight f5 cannot be bad. But at this rate, I don't know. Sometimes I've been thinking that these players are even stronger than me. Knight to f5. And we take with the g-pawn. So now we've opened the G and H files, which must be nice for us. I mean, I can't imagine it's not a good thing with the king right there. And I want to pick up the pace a little bit as well. So knight e4 just fails. It fails for several reasons, but at the end of it, I have queen h6. So maybe rook h8 is going to be played here. Maybe. Still, I don't think sacrificing a piece in such a position is the way to play. Knight h7 is an okay move, but it seems very passive. Seems very, very passive. I want to get this knight out somewhere. Like maybe to e3. Maybe. So here's an idea. Check this out. Bishop e3, knight d3, knight f2, knight g4. Very fascinating game. It's like I'm playing 2048. Look at this. Knight d3. And now this knight is really stuck. Obviously, my opponent is trying to block the position. They are basically creating an impregnable wall. But it's pregnable. There's knight g4. And, okay, they got b5, but I got my knight to g4. So who's really in business right now? We're going to get our rook to h6 and probably break down this position. Probably. And then we can always bring our king on our second rook. It's a very fascinating maneuvering game, this one. Very interesting game. Clearly shows that, this is all, you know what this is? This is England-Argentina from the World Cup. Maybe too soon for the English fans, but this is almost the equivalent of parking the bus. Like, there will be a breakthrough. You can't play like this. Now, black is actually, still creating some chances on the other side of the board, but I don't think this is going to last very long. Because also, the other side of the board is collapsing. So all three pawns will fall in short order. I have rook g6. I'm going to force the king away. I mean, something has to be winning for white. Something has to be winning. But I love the way black played this. Just a little too passive, I think. A little too passive. I still would go rook b8, but it's a little hard to evaluate that there's nothing here. I mean, I feel like I have just a win just somewhere, but I don't see it. I don't actually see a win, so I'm just going to take this pawn. I don't see it, and obviously, it's never too late to hang your queen. But this is, we can infiltrate from the other side as well. Our king stayed back. Our king never participated. This was a fascinating game. A very interesting one. King e8. Can I just take one more for the road? So we have won now 3 pawns in a row, 3 moves in a row. We took pawns from our opponent, so now we have a 2-pawn advantage. Keeping it very simple. I'm looking at these moves, but there's nothing yet. And that's just the queen hang. It took 27 moves for the opponent to collapse, but we got the job done. Hey, the Czech Benoni is annoying, man. I mean, it's really annoying. I'm trying to set up different openings against it, but d4, c5 is some really tricky stuff. you might be better off playing a more open game against this. And after black plays something like e6 or e5, you know, you just play like e4, and then you play like bishop d3, knight f3, castle. Those closed positions are so tough. And I tried to verbalize my thought process. Yeah, knight e4 is insane. You obviously can't do this. Just king d2 and knight c3, etc. But, you know, like I tried to play here. Yeah, g4 is the top engine move, and h4 is the top engine move. Wow, do you know what the computer wants? It wants g5. To sacrifice a pawn and just, like, move on with life. That's incredible. Stockfish is so ruthless. It's just like, sack a pawn. Queen g5, it doesn't care, because you can take and even go here, and black can't defend against both threats. Yeah, the computer always likes to win these positions when black has no space by just, like, shredding open the position. And I don't know, that's a little tough. That's not very, you know, that's not very human. I thought the way I played it was quite human, just kind of, yeah, knight, this was weird. But then I just, like, maneuvered, bishop e2, you know, I brought my knight back. Hey, I told you after the game, so I showed you that one diagram. How do you come up with backwards knight moves that then reroute forward into your opponent's position? Guys, I make this very easy for you, all right? I made this very easy for you. There is a whole section in this book on rerouting. It says rerouting right there. Look, it says rerouting. And it's just the section in the book about how knights go forward to go back, go backward to go forward, go to the side to go back into the middle. And, you know, this whole idea of putting the knight in the middle and then rerouting it like this, and then how we transformed like this to open the file, we had a dominant position. And I managed to reroute that knight, c1, d3, like this. And I think this is a skill that you need to develop if you want to become a solid 1800 level player, etc. Anyway, I hope I never have to see a Czech Benoni again. I hate outmaneuvering intermediate players. Is that 3 games in a row with white? That's not normal. Let's play something I haven't played yet, which is a Nimzo-Larsen attack, b3 and bishop b2. Goodness me, that is weird. I have never faced this before. I love playing at intermediate level. I mean, I've never seen this at master level. I don't even know what the best move is. Let's just play e3. Now, in the Larsen, you know, you have this diagonal. You can either play f4 and then knight f3, or just knight f3. I like playing f4. I think it gives me very nice control of the e5 square, and in the future, you know, I can create a potential attack against my opponent. Now, e5 is not possible. I think e5 just loses a pawn, which is kind of why I did what I did. Also, d4 can clamp down on the center. Another possibility, ooh, are they trying to castle queenside? So now we have a few options, one of which is just to play very boring, and the other is to play what I think is the best move. And I think the best move in this position is d4. It's a little bit peculiar, but if you allow me to get to d5, I have a dominant positional advantage. So I think you either have to play d5 or e6, both of which are very passive. This is why you can't play like this, right? So now I think just d5 is very clean. I do have to be a little careful. The knight b4 attacking my pawn, and maybe I defend it, and defend it again. I can also, look, they castled, right? So maybe I can start an attack already. I gotta think here. I gotta think for a second, which I just don't want to do, to be honest. E4 also doesn't look bad. Let's go for this attack. And let's see what happens. Wow, F6. Okay, clearly the idea is this. So now it's time for D5. Now it's time for this D5 move. So they go knight B4 indeed. And now I'm looking at either E4 or C4. E4 followed by C3 is interesting. C4 also doesn't look bad. I mean, like, at some point, yeah, they're gonna have to break. These intermediates are, like, not terrible, you know? I'm gonna kick out this knight. I need this knight off of the center. I think the knight has to go to A6. And now, I mean, everything looks nice. E4 doesn't look bad. Knight D4 doesn't look bad. Knight D4 take. This is in my line of sight. But this knight is trying to re-enter the game. Maybe I can lock it out permanently. This is such a weird position. Oh my goodness. I'm dumbfounded. I actually don't know what the best move is. Take. Wow, I just don't know. I want to play the best move. What do I freaking play here? I'm just gonna attack. I'm actually... This isn't even, like, instructional anymore. I'm just straight up trying to win. So, this is open. This is a little weak, but it's not, like... It's not totally weak, you know? I'm gonna take. Now my rook is just going down that side of the board. I mean, I cannot possibly believe that this is okay. I'm batting around this knight. Like, there's no way that this is good. The knight is gonna come to E4, but the king for black just looks so weak. Like rook A7, I'm looking at sacrifices. I'm looking at knight D4 to get my knight in and try to play bishop B5. I mean, that has to be good for me. You just can't play like this. You just can't open your king so much, you know? If knight C3, these pieces are just so far away. You know, like, you can take this, but bishop is coming into A6 or B5. No, this can't be okay. Oh, I have something so incredible. We're going to go bishop B5, queen A4, queen A8. We're going to sack our queen, take, king B7, bishop C6 mate. That's how this game is going to conclude. I mean, maybe my opponent will play C6, but at least that blocks the defense. Like, and then at least I feel like I'm getting somewhere. C6 and your bishop is kind of lost, but maybe they're going to move their queen. And now if knight C3, we have queen A8, take, rook takes, and bishop C6 mate. Oh, this is so beautiful. Knight E7 stops it. But, because then at the end we don't have bishop C6. But we are still leading a monstrous attack against this black king. I just cannot believe that this is not winning. It's there. Check. Take. Can't escape. King B7. Bishop C6. Bishop is guarded by the knight. That's mate. I'm not hallucinating, right? That's just checkmate. Queen A8 check. I mean, if I sack my queen... That's it. That's mate. Oh my goodness. What a finish. What a finish. Folks, things are weird at 1700. And I gotta tell you, sometimes you just gotta get weird with it. I mean, this person played a weird opening. Yeah, so I was right. I have the engine on here in the post-game analysis, and D4 was the best move because I am supposed to go for D5. I opted for A4, but I should have just stuck with my plan because then I would always have A3, and here I would play I would play A3, knight A6. Yeah, and wow, just absolutely ruthless. The computer just doesn't care at all. It's like, hey, your knight is just out of the game. That's actually kind of what happened in the game to a lesser extent, like here before, but I found this very insightful, how Black played on only their own third rank, and that means I have a lot more liberties, right? It's kind of like, imagine in a boxing match, a person's just hanging back and covering up. You have a lot more liberty to just throw punches at them. They're not really firing anything back at you. And that's what allowed me to play like A5, and then take, and then take, and then B4, right? And then knight D4. And this was not the best, but I was setting up this idea. And if knight E7, you know, I need to disconnect the bishop, so this would have been the best move. And you're looking at queen A8. And this is winning because even though we can trade everything here, rook A8 is just an unstoppable checkmate. You just cannot leave your king with such vulnerabilities. Having said that, had I not punished it and I was also a 1700, you know, they would have probably gotten away with it. This was a really interesting episode. The first game was that London turned endgame grind, and then the second game was a really locked closed position, which is in here as well, and I have, you know, closed positions are very tough to play, and this was just pure dynamics. This was just a supercharged attack at the king. The opponent hung back, allowed us to take an attack. Honestly, this was a lot of fun, and we're approaching 1700, and I think we will cross it in the next episode. Hey, I've promoted this already. If you click on the link and it's still there, it's probably double digits left. It's going to be sold out, I would imagine, before August. So thank you for your support, whether you get the book or not. I'm writing How to Win a Chess Master level for the folks that are trying to get to 2200. Can't wait to share that with all of you. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. Get out of here.